Hi, I'm Amanda Skelton, an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator, and today I'd like to show you how to make this card. So I think I've seen this sort of described as a springy pop-up bow card. So it does actually fold flat, but it also pops up and stands up, which is a really nice card. So you can see there's some details in here. These are the springs that make it pop up, but it will actually fold flat as well into a 5x7 envelope. So I just think this is really nice. I've actually seen this in a different colourway, which is what I'm going to do today, which is actually what made me really like this design. This is my sample that I've used with old papers. It's quite a good design to use if you've got lots of paper to use. So it does a lot of the heavy lifting for you with the design on the paper. So I have seen this as well. So I've got 3 patterned paper here, and I've got this one here, which is just to basically help it stand up. I have seen it with 3 at the front and 3 at the back, so it is like a proper full bow when you see it from the top. If you're trying to save paper, you don't need to do the extra 2 levels. So if you do it like that, it doesn't really stand up very well. It's a bit back heavy. So this one is just to really give it a little bit of stability to stand up. Again, you can put paper, you can decorate this if you want to, or leave it flat, leave it plain. And also the colourway I'm going to use, and you can put your centre, you can write on the back. I'm going to be doing a different colourway. So I saw the actual tutorial of this was Sam Calcott's, but the actual colourway that I saw that inspired me to do this card is Charlene Newhouse, Y-U-H-A-S. So that was the actual design that I've used. So what we need to make this. So I'm going to do this in black and gold and white. And let me show you. So I'm going to use the Ornamental Christmas bundle. I'm not using much. In fact, I don't think I'm using any of the stamps on this one. On this one, I've used an oval die and just stamped the sentiment from a different stamp set. On this one, I'm going to do a centre section with this. So I've actually stamped and heat embossed this in gold, which you can probably see there. Hopefully that's catching the light. And that is going to be the centre point on the card I'm doing. So like I said, the white, the black and the gold. But if you wanted to, you could just do a centre section if you wanted to, the round section, and you could put Merry Christmas or one of the other sentiments. This stamp set actually I've used more with this card that I've made. So you've got the 2 different trees. So again, I've heat embossed. Hopefully that's picking it up, the heat embossing on the gold, and you get the dies that match that. You get the 2, you don't get a stamp, but you get the 2 die cuts for a star and a quite a decorative bauble here. And some other ones as well. So we're going to be using those dies. But in terms of the actual stamp set, I've used it more on here. And this is actually quite a nice in gold as well. I've used that on this one here to make it look like the tinsel coming down it. That also makes quite a nice background as well behind things. So I probably won't show you how to do this card. It's fairly easy in terms of it's an A5 piece of card in half. I've used the circle die in here to cut out this aperture, put gold behind it. I've stamped these 2 for the trees, and then I've die cut them with the dies. So yeah, I ended up using a different gold to stamp a star here, but it didn't come out very well. I really should have done it in the embossed. Heat embossed the star. I just used one of those what are they called, delicata gold spritz, but it didn't come out very well. So I ended up cutting it out with the die. I don't think it particularly looks like I don't know if it looks like a star or not. It looks maybe a bit more like a flower or whatever. So anyway, I would have changed that, but that's fine for now. So I just thought I'd show you what you can make with the actual stamp set, because this particular bow that we're going to do, this bow card, doesn't really make use of them. So that's that one. And while I'm at it, let me just show you another stamp set. Now this stamp set is just one stamp, literally just one stamp, but it's a really nice sentiment, and you can easily make a really easy and quick card by using some nice Christmas paper, stamping this and heat embossing it again. It comes out so nice in the gold. And that again makes a really easy Christmas card. So that is really, really worth investing in, because you can make a lot of cards really quickly with that one. Okay, so on to what we're doing today. So we're making this one. So I'm doing this, like I said, in black. So you need 2 pieces of card. Now I've already cut these, and I'm going to show you a tip on how I found it the easiest way to cut these. So it's not the most straightforward. So I will go through cutting one of these pieces of paper with you, just to give you some tips. I'm doing this for workshops that I'm running, and I had to make 10 kits. So each card is 4 pieces. So I had to do a lot of cutting. So believe me, I found the quickest way I could to do that. So hopefully I can pass those tips on to you. The one, I think when I saw Sam's, she actually used a large pair of scissors to do a lot of this cutting. I don't trust my cutting. I've used the trimmer. So I'll show you how I've used the trimmer for that. So you need 2 pieces of card. Obviously it depends on what colourway you're doing. This one I used white. This one I'm using black. And that needs to be 5 inches by 7 inches, and you want to score on the long side at 3 3/8 of an inch and 3 5/8 of an inch on both pieces. So hopefully you can see the score marks there. Then you want 1 piece of the same coloured card. You want that to be 5 inches by 6 inches, and you want to score that at 2 7/8 of an inch and 3 1/8 of an inch. And then you want a piece of 5 inches by 5 inches, and you want to score down to 3 3/8 and 2 5/8 there. Okay. What you also need is you need some coloured paper. So I've already done some of the cutting. I've cheated a little bit, so I've already done some here. But you need, and again I'll show you how to cut these pieces as well. So you need 2 pieces of pattern paper, the same pattern paper, which is 3 1/8 of an inch by 4 5/8 of an inch. You then need, and if you want to have different coloured, different patterned, then patterned paper 2, you want 2 pieces of 2 5/8 by 4 5/8, and then paper 3, again 2 pieces, 2 1/8 by 4 5/8. Okay. What you also then need is some pieces of card for the mechanics. So for this centerpiece, you want a piece of card. I'll go for the same colour card as you've used for the rest. And you want that to be 2 3/4 of an inch by 1 inch. And then you want to score that at 1/2 inch, 1 1/4 inch, 1 1/2 inches, and 2 1/4 inches. So hopefully you can see that there. You've got 2 in the middle quite close together. And then you want 4 pieces, again, of card stock that you've used, the same colour as you've used for your base. You want 4 pieces which measure 1 inch by 1 1/2 inch. And you want to score each of those 4 pieces at 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch, and 1 inch. Okay, so again, hopefully you can see that. So you've got 4 pieces there. Okay, so I'm going to put those to the side for the minute. So what I'm going to do is show you how I cut these pieces first. Okay. So, you'll also need a piece of black, I've used black card. You want that to be about 3 inches square, and similar for your gold card for your, I think that's 3 inches. Let's just double check that. Yeah, about 3 inches, 3 inches square again to cut out your die cut, and then some white to stamp your sentiment on. Okay, so let me get my trimmer. So before I do that, let me show you how I've marked up the pieces. So I've got some white paper here just to show you, because it's very difficult to see your pencil markings on black, I've realised. So this is, I've used the large piece of card, or I've just got paper here just to demonstrate. So this is the 5 inches by 7 inches, and in fact it doesn't matter on each of the pieces If you turn them so that you've got your score lines going across, all of your pieces are actually the same depth, the same width. So it doesn't matter which of them, all of them, you're going to do the same on all of the 4 pieces of card. So turn them so that they're widthways across. And then I basically got my ruler, and this is 5 inches across. I'm just below the closest score line to me. Okay, so I can see that's the edge there, that's 5 inches there, so it's nicely lined up. Basically 1 inch from each end, you want to do a line across, so 1 inch up and to 4 inches here. Okay, you want to do that on all 4 pieces. Okay, then what you want to do is get your trimmer. I might have to stand above this in a minute to completely see. Now this sort of goes against what you'd normally do. When you're normally cutting edges off, you're normally cutting from the center down. We're going to do the inverse. We're going to cut from the outside corners in, but only as far as these skull marks. Okay, so we're effectively going to be doing a cut like this, but only as far as your score marks. Okay, so you want to line up your trimmer. Like I said, it's the opposite of what you'd want to do. Let me just get this lined up, so about there. Okay, so that looks lined up across here on here. Now what I would also say is, you're going to be, if you cut from here, you obviously can't cut from here because you're going to be cutting on the card that you want to keep. You need to cut from this edge for this side, but you've got a corner, and it's quite hard to cut from a corner because the blade often gets stuck. So what I would do is I'd lift up your trimmer. I would then place it back down with your blade somewhere along this part of your line. Place it down and then go to the outside edge and then come back in. That way you don't end up buckling that corner. And then I might just need to check. Actually, I've not even done that. Look, I've not even done that on the right corner. Let me just double. It's because I was looking at the wrong corner. Okay, that looks better. Right, same principle applies. And then I just want to just move it a little bit at a time until you get to that. So that looks about right for me. You can see that I've just about come. Doesn't matter if it comes a little bit into the middle bit, but you just want to come into there. Okay, and then you want to do the same other side. Again, sorry, I need to get my head in the picture to properly see. So again, I'm going to lift it up. I'm going to place the blade somewhere on that line, and then I'm going to put my cut up to there. Okay, so I've got a cut to there and a cut to there. Okay, but this middle bit isn't cut yet. So what I'll do then is place your thing. So remember we measured 1 inch down here. So basically put your card up to 1 inch, bring your blade across to somewhere between these 2 score marks. Okay, about the middle, and then I'm just going to go left, and then I'm going to go right, and then that should meet up to where your other lines were. If it's not quite as tidy as you'd want it to be, you can of course get your scissors in just to neaten it up, and then you do that on the other side as well. So hopefully that helps you a little bit, because there's no way I wanted to do loads of hand cutting because it just didn't look neat enough for me. So I wanted to use the trimmer. So hopefully that shows you need to do that top and bottom on all 4 pieces. Hopefully that makes it a lot easier. Okay, that aside, oh, actually no, I'll need that again. So then you've got the pattern paper, okay, and you've got 2 pieces for each layer, and so again I've used the larger piece here just as an example. So these are 3 1/4 inches by 4 5/8, so they would fit on like that once they're cut down. Right, if you're using patterned paper, a directional pattern paper, you need to be very careful with how you cut this. Okay, so you need to make sure, so you can see that I've got them both facing, you need to make sure that when you cut them that your bits that you're cutting out are the right direction once they fit back on the page. So you'll have 2 pieces of the same pattern. So what I suggest you do if it is patterned is put the pattern pieces together the same way up, okay? And then the measurements for this to cut out is, instead of, we did 1 inch on the base pieces, on this one we want to do 7/8, okay? So it doesn't matter which edge. So I've gone to the edge of here and I'm going to measure 7/8, and then I'm just going to measure down from here 7/8, okay? So I've got 2 pieces here, and the pattern is the same way up, but the pattern is pattern to pattern on the inside, okay? So the pattern side is in here, okay? Both pointing that way, okay? So again, this is more what you're used to be doing with cutting your corners off. So again, I'm going to line that up like that. I'm going to cut from the straight edge because again, this will buckle the corner. So I'm just checking that. Okay, do that side, turn it around, and then you're going to do it the same that side. Again, go from the straight edge so that you don't buckle the corner. Okay, and then when you open it out, you've got them both facing the same way with the narrower bit in the middle, okay? So you'll have them like that. Okay, so hopefully again that helps you. If you haven't gone directional, it doesn't really matter. You can cut them both the same direction, it really doesn't matter. But if you've got directional, it really does. So as you can see here, I cut them both pattern to pattern, which then means when I open them out, they're the same way. Okay, right, let's start assembling. So I have cheated a little bit. I gave you a sneak peek just now. So I have already, so what you want to do is stick your pieces on. So you've got a smaller, a middle, and 2 larger pieces, okay? So I've done these are not directional, easy peasy, okay? One of these is going to be your back one to keep it standing up. So you then just want to stick these, again, make sure they're the right way up. I mean, they'll only go one way if that's the size pattern you want and not this one. If that's the pattern you want, then if you cut them face to face, then that they will work out the same way. It'll be obvious which way you need to put them. Actually, these papers are really nice. I'll tell you what these papers are in a minute. But yeah, it's the Ornamental Christmas Dies, is the die set, and the where is it? These papers are gorgeous. They're all gold embossed. So they've got lovely gold shine on them. And this is Modern Christmas. So I think this is the Modern Christmas bundle, actually. The suite. So I'll put that piece down. Okay, so you just want to make sure that you don't, so you've got your score in the middle, you just want to make sure that you are outside of that. So you just want to centre that, make sure it's all nice and straight. Okay, so the 3 pieces you've got pattern paper on, effectively you're going to be lining them up all in the middle like that, okay? So you can fold your score lines, so fold them inwards with the pattern paper towards themselves. Okay, so you've got your pieces like that. Okay, and then again, I've only got one directional paper. If you've got more than one directional paper, obviously make sure that all your layers are the same direction. You know, it's easy enough to do, but if it's not the same, if you've only got one, then it doesn't matter, you can always turn it upside down. So down the spine, you want to add some glue, And then you want to put your next size paper, that is the smallest one, isn't it? Yes, your next size paper in the middle. Okay, and then if you just fold it up, you can just make sure, press it both top and bottom to make sure that they're in line, and then that should be nicely in line there. Okay, then you can put your next piece on as well. Again, glue between the two score marks, and again line it up central. Make sure top and bottom, I just squeeze it top and bottom, make sure that they're same height, and then just make sure that they all fold in. You should be able to see there that they fold in together. Okay, so I'm just going to let that dry a little bit. While we're doing that, we can do some folding. So we've got the centerpiece, so that is your 2 3/4 inch by 1 inch, and what you want to do is basically fold them all the same direction. So you've got 4 score marks, fold them all the same direction. And that is going to become, this little bit here, it's going to become the top bit that you're going to attach your sentiment to. And then these two are going to fold like that, so that it pops up. You can see that, how that's going to work, yeah. So what we can do is actually do that now. So what you want to do is put glue on the back of these, and you want to make sure that your score marks again are lined up with the score marks underneath, and you want to make sure it's about halfway up. Okay, so hold those behind and then press those down. Make sure they're lined up. That looks about right. Extra glue there. What I sometimes do is just put a little weight on top of it, stops it from springing back up and going against itself. Okay, what I'm going to do then is fold the springs, these little pieces here. Okay, so you've got 4 of those. So what you want to do is use the center score. You've got 3 score lines. Use the center score line, fold it, and then fold both of the other 2 away, and then you should get like a little M. Okay, so folding the center one in, and then folding the 2 the 2 outside ones back away. If you end up doing, so what I haven't done is I haven't put one on here. I've left that light there so that you can move that as far back as you want to give it stability. If you do 3 here and the 3 at the back, you'd want to have more of these. You'd want to double these to have the springs on the back sections as well. Right, so that way, and then fold the other 2 away from them. Okay, so we've got those for in a minute. And then what we will also do is we'll put together the center. Okay, so the star is slightly bigger than the circle, so I won't go right to the edges with the glue, but I will put some in the middle, and I'll put some there. Okay, and you'll just want to center that roughly. I think those 2 are longer actually, so yeah, that should be okay. Obviously when I do it that way, it's centered. So it depends how you want to do it. So yeah, it does look like those 2 are wider. That should be okay. And then this one I'm going to glue across the middle. You could put it on sticky pads if you wanted to raise it up, but this is already going to be quite a meaty card because of all the levels of card you've got and the springs. So I probably, especially if you're going to send it, I wouldn't add any more bulk to it. If it's somebody you're going to give them, you could obviously do that. And then I'm just going to put that one in the middle, like that. Okay. Right, so that can all be drying. That should be dry now. And then that's going to pop up like that. Okay. And then we're going to put that on it in a minute, but we'll do that last. Right, what we can do now is put these in. Okay, and actually it might be easier to do that before this middle bit is put in, but anyway, it's up to you. Right, so what I'm going to do is you want to have the sort of edges on the inside, and this is going to become so that it will go like that. Okay, so the edges, the folds are going to be on the outside, but the edges are going to be on the inside, and I'm going to glue one edge at a time. And you want it to be about halfway high and about halfway across. So about there. So I just do one at a time. It's a little bit easier to maneuver. It's hard to do it if you've got both glue on both edges, a little bit like I did on that one really. Sometimes it's easier to do one at a time. So once one is glued, then you can, so this is the outside edge again, so you can put some glue on this edge. And then you can press that one down, and then that will keep that in place. Okay, and you can see how that has already pressed that one up. Okay, I'm going to go to the other side now to let that one dry a little bit. Again, the edges are going to be on the inside of the card, so I'm going to do the bottom one first. Stick that one in place, again about halfway. It's not going to matter too much if they're not in line, but yeah, you can try and keep them in line as much as you can. Okay, let's put some glue on the top edge of that. And fold that one down onto it. Give it a good press. I need to make sure that I got it the right way up before I put the sentiment on as well. I'll probably forget, but anyway, we'll see. You can be the witnesses on that one. So yeah, so that's the direction I really want. So now I'm going to go to this last piece, and again I'm going to put glue on one edge. So I can see roughly how far up that one is. So I'm going to press that one down. And if it's shiny gold paper as well, you might find it takes a little bit longer to dry with the glue. And then I'm going to press that one down. Okay, there you can see you've got your little spring there. Okay, last one to do on this side. Again, raw edges on the inside. Again, I'm going to see roughly where the same height up that is. Again, I'm just pressing. That down. Allow it to adhere. And then press that down flat. And then we've got the fundamentals. So it does just about stand up like that, actually. It will just about stand up. But if you want to make sure, then you can put the back piece on. So what we're going to do, so I'll let that dry again. So again, you've got this piece. Again, just fold it on the, across the score lines. And you're going to do this the opposite way round. You don't want it to be this way. Otherwise it's not going to work. You need to do it across. So you're going to have the outside, the inside of that. And we're going to stick that to the back edge. Okay. So again, I'm going to, and you can press it down if you want to. And again, so if that's flat away from you, this wants to come towards you. Okay, so again, you want to find that center point. Again, just squeeze it top and bottom because they will be the same height. So you can just squeeze them top and bottom to make sure. And then that should, oh, I can see that's not quite lined. That's better. See, so you can look at it top and bottom and that looks better. Okay. And then that will just give it that extra bit of stability. Right. The last thing to do is to then glue on. So just make sure you've got the right direction. Oh, it needs to be that way. That's the right direction. Not that you can see an awful lot of the design by that stage. And then what you want to do again is just glue on that little bit of that center spine. Make sure your sentiment is the right way up. And then you want to, you can put it down flat if you want, and just want to make sure it's roughly centered. So this helps actually, you want this to be centered. And then it springs up. Just check that it's, yeah, you can see it's adhered in the middle there. You can give it a bit more of a press if you want to, but that should be good to go. And then it stands up. What you might want to do is, because I've done this in black, what you can do is you can cut out some white paper or card, the same size as you would have for these bigger pieces. So the piece that I actually used to demonstrate the cutting for you on, so that was 3 1/8 by 4 4/8. Cut it the same as you would for the pattern paper, and then you can put that piece on the back, and then that's where you can write your message to the recipient of the card. So that's what you can do. So I hope you've enjoyed that. I really like this card, and I think this will be quite a good card to do for a lot of different sort of patterns of paper, etc. Like I said, you don't have to have this sort of size. You can do something like this. But yeah, I really enjoy doing that. It's just a little bit different, especially for this time of year. Like a Christmas bow is just really, really nice. Hope you've enjoyed it. As always, you can find me on Pinterest and YouTube as Amanda's Crafted Cards, and you can find the products. So like I said, it's the Modern Christmas, and the bundle is ornamental Christmas dies. You can find all the products on amandascraftedcards.stampingup.net. Hope you've enjoyed it, and I shall see you for the next one. Take care. Bye bye.